Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin with chapter 42, verse 11. Chapter 42, verse 11. So, pursuant to what we were discussing yesterday, Yosef, according to Ramban, decides that the message that he received from the dreams tells him that he's supposed to string this along further, and he turns to his brothers, has not revealed himself as their brother. He says, I think you are spies. I don't think you're here to buy food. I think you are spies. Then they say back, no, we really are here just to get food. And now in verse 11, they say, Kulanu bnei ish echad nachnu. We all are the children of one man. Keinim anachnu, we're being truthful with you. Lo ayu avodecha meraglim. Your servants were not spies. Okay. Two things. Why does it help that they're brothers? I suppose there are times in history that there are spies who were brothers. I suppose there are times in history that there were spies who were not brothers. You know, what does that do for us that they're brothers? Why is that a relevant point to this conversation? Also the final phrase of the pasuk is very interesting. Lo hayu avodecha meraglim, literally translated, your servants were not spies. Why? Is that what they're saying? Or are they saying your servants are not spies? So it's just interesting to think about. It's a very famous Rashi on this pasuk that's just so interesting. Let's see it. The first Rashi, pasuk Yud Aleph, Kulanu bnei ish echad nachnu. Nitznitza bahem ruach hakodesh. That they didn't even appreciate the wisdom of what they were saying, that the divine spirit had entered into their words. The kilalui moyam she'afhu ben aviyam. They were saying something they didn't even appreciate. They literally said, "We're all children of the same man. We're all, including Yosef himself," unbeknownst to them. Just interesting Rashi. Okay, let's see the Ramban. Ramban on pasuk Yud Aleph. Kulanu bnei ish echad nachnu. Yitachin lefarish hatana azos ki amru b'bnei hayosenu achim bnei ish echad. They were saying to him, since we're brothers, we're all from the same father. It doesn't make sense for us to separate. Our father wanted us to stick together. Banu kulanu ke'echad lishbar ochel v'lo shalachnu echad mimenu im avadav. So this is an interesting thing. So the Ramban explains that what they're saying to him is, we get what you're bothered by. Why would all of us come together? Why couldn't one of us come with the servants, to schlep back? It's a little strange that all these high-level people from this distinguished family are all here together. So it makes you think maybe we're spies or something. So no, it's because we're all part of the family, and our father wanted us to stick together. So in deference to our father, we stuck together. The Ramban says, it's so true. Why in the world would Yaakov tell them all to go? He wanted them to stick together. Another possibility is that this was such a serious famine that maybe you can't trust the servants. Who knows what the servants are going to do? So it makes sense for them all to go together, either for family looking out for each other, either just that'll keep things more secure. You know that Basharim b'kvod Ashro v'rov banav v'im tishal v'tachkor teida ki keinem anachnu v'anoshim tzadikim b'nei tzadik v'lo miraglim. A totally different possibility, says the Ramban, is they say to him, and you can imagine this in all kinds of stories and the like, they say, look, we're not spies. We're being truthful with you. And it's easy enough to check us out. We're a well-known family. We're all part of the same family. Do a background check on us. In other words, it's not like we're not strangers. There's a lot of people who know our father. Again, the language is not that we're family languages, we're all sons of the same person. The implication is something about the father. Our father's a very well-known person, known for his truth and honesty. He's a reputable fellow. Check it out. V'tam lo yu avodechem raglim, keinim anachnu minu reinu b'chol dvarenu. The Ramban says the reason why they say we weren't spies is we've been legitimate people from our youth. For all relevant things, we're always straightforward. We've never been spies. We've never been sinister or anything like that. So there's a famous medrash that his real claim against them was because they came in through different gates. Like, why did you come? You're clearly together. Why did you come from different gates? And that evidently is a normal thing for spies to do. V'tan and choni, that's a fair comment. Avalo hiskiroso akasov. He says that's a very interesting point in the Medrash, but it doesn't say that anywhere in the pasuk that they came through different gates. Va'od she'amru lo b'tchila kulanu b'nei eish echad nachnu v'yishem chayeves osam. It's also strange if the idea of the Medrash is that he was so upset. If you're all together, why would you come separately? To say, well, we're all brothers, that only reinforces the question. Right, you're all brothers. So why would you come in separately? Maybe, says Ramban, what happened is he said to them, you came in separately, and now you're like reunited. The fact that you're getting back together again in the land is the way of spies. They said to him, they said to him, since we're brothers, that's why we drove together. That's why we went together. We gathered together. Sorry. He says, I don't believe you. He says to them, I don't trust you. If indeed you're brothers, all the more so you should have come together. So he asked, why did you gather together? They said, well, we're brothers. He says, really? You're brothers? Then I have no idea why you came in through separate gates. Then if you look a couple psukim later, that's when they go somewhere else. And they say, there's one brother who's gone. That's a part of our journey here, is we were hoping we could find him. And so that's the explanation as to why we're coming separately. So definitely an interesting Ramban. And basically he explains that the thing about the brothers is either an explanation as to why all of us would have come in the first place. Maybe it's an explanation as to why they reunited once they got into the gates. And maybe it's just saying, check us out. We're a well-known family. So interesting possibilities. Let's see the Orach Chaim on Pasuk Yud Aleph. Kulanu b'nei yishachad. Perish. Ubazeh ein makom l'chshad rigul ki hameraglim yivcharu lios me'anafim rabim. Says the Orach Chaim, if you wanted spies, you probably would get people from different groups, different families. You probably wouldn't. Let's try to find the 12 people that we know that look the most alike and send them all together and be nice and inconspicuous like that. So he said, if we're spies, why would we all come as one family? He says, by the way, we don't have to be so creative about this. What did Moshe do? Moshe sent spies from throughout the nation. And even the 2 spies that Yoshua sent are not from the same family. Next, Orach Chaim, lo yu avodecha, amru lashon avar. They're saying it in the past tense, perish. B'biyasam la'aretz. They weren't acting as spies when they came into the land. Ki ata acha shehirgish bohem, being that he's noticed them. Einam tzrichin lomar she'einam meraglim, ki vadai shelo yiraglu od. They're definitely not going to do any spying now, because he's telling them, I suspect you people. Surely you're not going to do anything funny now. But what they're saying to him is, even when we came in, we didn't have any designs on coming as spies. That's just an interesting shot. Okay. Let's jump ahead now to verse 21. He says to them that, I need you to sort of verify all this stuff that you're telling me. So here's the plan. I'm going to give you food. but I'm taking one of your brothers, and he's going to be in prison here in Egypt. And if you ever want your brother to be freed, you'll bring this younger brother of yours, Binyamin, that you keep on talking about. Let's see if your story is legit. But I'm not just going to tell you, please bring Binyamin, because why would you do it? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take one of your brothers captive, and I'm only going to free him if you bring this alleged Binyamin back. That's the plan. Okay. Now the reaction is very, very interesting here. 21. Each one said to his brother, Avol ashemim anachnu al achinu. We are guilty because of our brother, meaning Yosef. Asher ra'inu tzaras nafsho. We saw the pain of his soul, bischanano eleinu, when he begged to us, v'lo shamanu, and we didn't listen. Alkein ba eleinu atzarazos. And that's why this terrible tragedy has befallen us. This is a remarkable moment of introspection. They turn to each other and they say, this is crazy. This is happening for a reason. And we know what the reason is. We were cruel to our brother Yosef, which you can appreciate, assuming that God had communicated to Yosef, he should string this along. You can appreciate the value now. Rabbanan Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Asher ra'inu tzaras nafsho b'schanano eleinu. Chashvu lahem ha'atzarius lo neshgado Yosef min ha'mechira. It's a remarkable pasuk. They don't say this is happening to us because we sold our brother. They say we saw his pain. He begged us and we didn't listen. So the Ramban says they're focusing on the cruelty that they exhibited towards him more than the fact that they sold him. Their own flesh and blood was misnachem, misnapel lifneim, v'lo yirachamu. He was begging them for help, and they weren't having any mercy. And that's what they recognize. That's really their sin, because this viceroy of Egypt seems to be being so cruel to them, seems to be so unsympathetic to their explanations. And this is not a coincidence that we were not appropriately sympathetic to our brother. Interestingly, by Kasav Lo Siper Zesham, Ramban says it's interesting. We don't have an emphasis on that in the Torah, that he begged them and they didn't listen. We don't have that when the Torah told the story. Why not? One possibility as to why it's not clarified in the Torah is because it's obvious. What do you think happened? You think Yosef was calmly sitting in the pit, asking them when the next flight to Egypt was? I mean, obviously, he's begging them to save him. Oh, Shigirtza Kosov Lakatzer B'Sruchanim. Maybe the Torah doesn't want to go to great lengths to say what they did wrong. So the story we need to know, but the cruelty of the moment, maybe Hashem doesn't want to put in the Torah. Or it's just a normal thing. We see at various places in the Chumash that we sort of get blanks filled in on the story from other places, and that gives us retrospective on an earlier story in the Chumash. So that's also an interesting Ramban. So we discussed their claim that they're brothers, why that's substantive. And then we also discussed their tremendous introspection at this moment. Okay, Nancy?
Yes, Rabbi, and I hope I'm not keeping people. I know it's Erev Shabbos, but I wanted to speak to something yesterday where there were different interpretations of the brothers. When Yaakov says to the brothers, "Why are you looking at each other?" Okay, and I think the word ra'ah is looking, seeing, and heat is reflexive. In other words, why are you looking at yourselves? Why are you looking at each other? So I think linguistically, that's probably a very valid interpretation. But just to give some benefit to the other interpretations, where it says, well, there might be people in other tribes in Israel, other people in Israel, or people who are passing through Israel to get food, and why should we die? It might be that those people would be jealous or be angry that you have anything, and they might kill the Jews for, oh, you have food and we don't, we're going to take your food. So, I mean, there is validity to both. I think linguistically, the looking at each other has a little bit more validity. But okay,
Okay.
that's just something. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Okay.
that, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And
Thank
I
you,
also
Rabbi.
just want to mention what my father put it to me in the chat, which is something very interesting. He once saw from Rabbi Henkin, which is that the reason why Yaakov didn't send slaves for the job, maybe one of the sons would go with slaves, is because maybe he had to lay off the slaves because maybe he couldn't feed them anymore. An interesting shot. Thank you very much. Okay. A happy Hanukkah to everybody, and take care. God willing, we'll resume on Monday. Take care,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Thank you.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.